If you have been following our channel for some time, you might notice that we at Femcopath do not review all the movies that get released. We mostly talk about films that we loved, particularly for their subtext, politics, and overall impact on the varied trends of Indian or world cinema. Oru Thekkan Thallu Case by debutant director Sreejith N is one such movie which we had already fallen for midway in the film. The super subtle strike at the machoistic male ego, the deceptive celebration of feminism in a typical male-centric Malayalam movie template, and the superlative performances had already won us over until, all of a sudden, that all came crashing down. A film that could have made to the best films of the year and one of the finest depictions of feminism on screen gets its politics and philosophy misplaced where it mattered the most. A colossal opportunity loss, we must say, that we are here to discuss with you in this video. The video will have spoilers from here on, so if you are yet to watch the film, you might want to do that first and then come back. Before we go there, here's requesting some more love in terms of like, shares and subscriptions. We are nearing the milestone of 10k subscriptions, and with your support, we can get there by this month. Thanks for being there with us all this while. The film, based on G.R. Indugopan's story of Ammani Pillai Vettu Case, narrates the story of the feud between Ammani Pillai, the village veteran feared by all the localities, and Podiyan, a reckless young man who denies to be intimidated by Ammani. The clash of ego between the two extends from verbal banters to physical assaults, giving us exciting set pieces one after the other. But then the real beauty of the film lies in the characterization of the two women in the lives of these men fighting each other. Nimisha Sajayan as Vasanti is the love interest of Roshan Matthews Podiyan, a uniquely courageous woman who owns up her emotions towards his man in the most effortlessly progressive way. It is a premarital physical intimacy with Podiyan in the premises of Ammani Pillai's household that escalates matters between Podiyan and Pillai. Now, one needs to look at this plot point beyond an excuse for the two men to clash. Consider how cool Vasanti is when her family and the entire village knows about this episode, without any pretense of shyness or modesty whatsoever for being sexually active before her marriage. She stands up to the typical traditionalism that our films paint for the village belles in the most refreshing way. We realize over the course of time how Vasanti does not rely on Podiyan's responses for her choices in life. She's in love with him, will only marry him if she has to, but her sexual actions are not necessarily based on whether Podiyan would eventually marry her or not. She would have engaged anyway out of pure enjoyment after all. Tasting a little early, as Rukmini, Ammani Pillai's wife, suggests, played by the fantastic Padmapriya. Rukmini adds up to the energizing layer of feminism that Vasanti establishes in the film. She's the biggest support for Vasanti, even if both their men are fighting each other to satisfy their inflated sense of self-importance. We witness how these fights do not affect the relationship between the two women at all, how comfortably they can look beyond what they are doing to each other and establish their identities of their own and not derivative of their husbands. Even if Ammani Pillai is the most revered person of the whole village, the film suggests how all his strength lies in Rukmini standing behind. In a beautiful sequence when things have gone sour between Ammani and Rukmini, we watch the strong man down and dusted, literally at the mercy of the intrusive villagers. And then Rukmini returns to his rescue and Ammani gets back in groove and how. But guess what? This very sequence that sets up Rukmini as the actual boss lady of the film is a seriously problematic one from where the film goes down. It is in the episode of domestic violence that Rukmini faces from Ammani leading up to the aforementioned episode. The episode of violence comes out of nowhere, and the way it's handled pulls down the so far attained charm of the film. The film treats the incident of violence as a minor hassle between the loving couple, as we later realize that Rukmini is not that fussed about this incident as much as we are. Vasanti, whom we have been admiring all this while, suggests Rukmini that she should forgive Ammani as she is anyway aware of his short-tempered nature. Now that hurts at a meta level as well, as it is Nimisha speaking of this compromise, someone who has a special place in our hearts for a valiant role of the wife in The Great Indian Kitchen, a film that advocated against all such domestic compromises that Indian women make regularly in life. In the climax of the film, we face a similar sudden downfall of an otherwise progressive writing. We are familiar with the stories where women dedicate their lives for the ego satiation of their men, and here we watch Rukmini helping Podiyan, which means her husband's promise made to the village public cannot be fulfilled. She is matured enough to realize that Vasanti's marriage with Podiyan is far more crucial than the seething satisfaction of the two men. And there lies the film's thematic bashing of the male ego. And then, with yet another cowardly act of Podiyan, the progressive balance goes for a toss. The same Rukmini becomes Ammani's support to punish Podiyan in public and fulfill his promise. The daring Vasanti settles down to the stereotypical dialogues like, "I want the father of my child not to be a coward." we wish Podian would be left at the altar. Not a slap from Amini or Rukmini on his behalf, but one from Vasanthi would be the final ego buster, like Darshana Rajendran's character had for the character of Roshan Matthew in Anam Pendam. We wish Rukmini, who has always been Vasanthi's guardian angel, would advise her about Podian's true colors to lead up to the uber-feminist climax so as to take this film up there as one of the best works against toxic masculinity in recent times. That too following a deceptive hero-worshipping mainstream template. How great that would be. What an opportunity lost. And then, as if to add more salt to the sorrow, we have the end credit scene where we see Amini still waiting for Podian to give him his pending thrashing. It only suggests that even if Rukmini considers she has fulfilled her husband's promise to the village on his behalf by slapping Podian, Amini is not at peace until he does it himself. The male hero does not consider his wife as a part of his image and esteem at the end of the day. Maybe that's all from the original writing belonging to a bygone time. But what do you look for in an adaptation, if not some progressive subversion like what Greta Gerwig did in her version of Little Woman? Oru Thekkan Thallu Case remains a pseudo-progressive attempt coming from a male gaze and male reading of the world after all. And that disappoints us immensely, considering the potential the film had. And it's that disappointment that we could not resist from sharing with you all. And we would be keen to know your take on the film that's streaming on Netflix now. That is all from us today. Thank you for watching.